17th of December. We're in the Tom Baker Room of the City County Building. And before we get started with our Board of Commissioners meeting, we'll have invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance of Chaplain Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Merry Christmas, and let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you today in humility and in faith. We thank you for all that you've given us and the many blessings in our lives and in our city. Father, I thank you for the city of Bismarck, and I thank you for its citizens, for its leaders, for the workers. I thank you for all of the first responders who keep us safe every day. I pray your blessing upon them and keep them safe in their duties. During this meeting, Father, we ask for your guidance and strength. Show us the way to govern this community and fill us with courage and wisdom to follow your will. Help us to remember your love and grace, and help us to be faithful in our service to you, the country, this state, and our nation. Give us the patience and understanding to face all of life's challenges with the same grace and mercy you have for each of us. And Father, as we celebrate the holidays, may we ever be thankful for the gifts we receive, especially the greatest gifts of all, your love and forgiveness. May we be as generous as you have been to us. With thanks in our heart, we ask these things in your name. Amen. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes, thank you. Again, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. If we can call our meeting to order, call roll, please.
Commissioner Risch?
Here.
Commissioner Zenker?
Here.
Commissioner Connolly?
Here.
Commissioner Cleary? Here. Mayor Schmitz?
Here. Our first item tonight is the presentation of the humanitarian awards, and I believe Tia or Sarge or both of you.
Mayor and Commissioners, good evening. My name is Tia Jorgensen, and I'm serving as the chair for the city's Human Relations Committee. Tonight, I would like to share with you and the citizens we serve the recipients of the HRC's Humanitarian Award. The Humanitarian Award was created to honor a person or an organization that exhibits leadership in the areas of human and civil rights, with a focus on recognizing persons in the community that educate, identify issues, and address human rights. Since the inaugural Humanitarian Award recognized Carrie's Kids in 2009, it has been the HRC's honor to spotlight the people and organizations making a difference in our community. This year's Humanitarian Award marks the 13th installment of this recognition. The Human Relations Committee is honored to present the 2023 Humanitarian Award to Sanford Health and Micah Olson. Committee member Sarjana Witzke is going to read a little bit about both nominations.
Sanford Health was chosen as the organizational recipient of the 2023 Humanitarian of the Year Award because of its prioritization of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion program. This program was launched in 2021 during the COVID pandemic. Natasha Smith, who works for Sanford, nominated her employer and said in her application, "Despite the increasing challenges on healthcare systems across our region and our country, Sanford Health ensured that the passion and expertise around diversity, equity, and inclusion in the organization could expand, scale, and provide lasting and meaningful impact to its employees, its patients, and its community." When a healthcare organization prioritizes these efforts, the outcome is that underrepresented populations feel valued and comfortable to seek out preventative healthcare. This has an impact on the health disparities we know exist in our communities. Micah Olson was chosen as the individual recipient of the 2023 Humanitarian of the Year Award because of his work with North Dakota Protection and Advocacy. The individual who nominated Micah said that Micah consistently serves and advocates for the needs of people with disabilities. He continually fights for what is right, no matter how difficult the challenge may be, and he is not one to back away. He strongly advocates for accessibility and for removing barriers so that people with disabilities can live out their full potential. Micah uses his own experience with a disability to motivate his work and to give a voice to issues affecting the disabled. On behalf of the Human Relations Committee, we extend our deepest gratitude to Sanford Health and Micah Olson for their remarkable contributions to our community. Their efforts inspire us to strive for equity, inclusion, and understanding.
We're now going to present the awards. We will have Sanford Health come up first. Do one of you want to say something briefly? Okay. And then we will.
We'll take a picture with the commissioners too.
And then we will have Micah Olson.
Thank you, ladies, and thank you to your committee. At this point in time, we have public comment for those items on the consent agenda and the regular agenda excluding public hearing items. Anyone who wish to speak, please come forward, sign in, state your name and the topic of which you're speaking to, please.
My name is Susan Dingle, and I want to speak very briefly on two items. The first is on the regular agenda on the listing of legislative priorities, and I would just urge the city to add state transportation grants, to urge that those be increased. All of the public transportation systems in the state face the same kinds of problems, the biggest of which is the increased cost of operation. And they could use more money for that. Also, all of them are trying to reach out and link up with each other. And again, it's very nice to talk about how great that is, but they need more money to be able to help it to happen, and that would benefit us all. So I would just say, please add that as an item. The second item is on the consent agenda, and this is the Bismarck Transportation Steering Committee on the gross sales tax receipts. This is fascinating. It's the first time we've actually seen public notice of it, and it lists the members of the committee, and I know some of those names. I don't know all of them. I can't imagine that everybody who sees the agenda would be acquainted with them. I think it would really be nice to know a lot more about this. How is this formed? How were people chosen? What is the mandate? When are they meeting? And of course, meetings should be open to the public and publicized in advance. Ideally, they should also be taped, such as via Dakota Media Access. I just think this is a great thing to discuss. It needs to be better publicized, and if it's such a worthy idea, it should be able to see the light of day. There also is this thing about open meetings and open records, and I think just putting this on the consent agenda and asking for a vote for it without prior notice is kind of shaky. But there's a chance to learn more, and that's one of the things I'm here tonight hoping to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else who wishes to speak, please come forward. A second call for public comment? A third and final call for public comment? Hearing and seeing no further public comment period is now closed. Commissioners, what are your wishes with regard to the consent agenda?
I'll move we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, do we have any discussion?
I got one question, sir.
Go ahead.
Mayor and Commissioners, on that specific item, D5 there, I'm assuming we're going to make that a portfolio at some time? I didn't remember seeing anything in the memo about making it a portfolio.
It may become, we'll see what, the committee meetings will be public.
Oh, I'm sure they will,
And they'll be noticed, and then depending on what comes that, because public transportation or Bismarck Transit is in Commissioner Connolly's portfolio currently, this may lead to another portfolio assignment.
Okay,
I think we need, yep.
perfect.
Yep.
I asked for clarification. Thank
Yep.
you, sir.
Yep. Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Zinker,
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly,
Yes.
Commissioner Cleary,
Yes.
Commissioner Risch,
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz.
Yes. Moving to the regular agenda, first item is to receive fourth quarter report from the Bismarck Mandan Chamber EDC, and I believe Nathan is here tonight, stepping in for Brenda.
Pinch hitting. Good evening, mayors. There's multiple mayors here. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Nathan Schneider, Vice President with the Bismarck Mandan Chamber EDC. Brenda sends her apologies. She could not make it tonight. She's at home dealing with a family medical issue. So unfortunately for you, you're stuck with the JV. That just means that we'll make it maybe a little bit more quicker than she would. We appreciate, as always, the opportunity to come and provide the update before you for our Q4. This is going to be some Q4 and some just year-end recap 2024. This was the first year of the contract between the Chamber EDC and the City of Bismarck and the Bismarck Downtown Foundation. And so we'll just kind of jump right into it. So you kind of know a little bit about our efforts, kind of broken up in between workforce development and business development. We'll start with workforce development and some of the things that we have working on currently that have happened in Q4. You can see there in the presentation the Welcome Initiative. This is an initiative that's been brought forth by First Lady Janelle Schmitz, really kind of working on how do we change the culture of our community to make it a more welcoming community. We always say we're a friendly community. We'll change your tire if your tire's flat on the road, but we're not going to probably invite you over for hot dish and coffee at the house. But how do we make our community and change the culture of our community, make it a more welcoming community? And so this has really been a push by First Lady Janelle, and we've partnered with other community partners, including the Bismarck Downtowners, on this initiative, and look for some news coming out about that. We're actually in the process right now. It actually just went out today in our weekly newsletter, a survey that's going out to community organizations. So if you're a community organization in Bismarck and Mandan, for that matter, and you're looking at growing your presence in the community, we have an opportunity for you to provide your contact information to us through this survey that's gone out. And that information will be used to help populate our Bismarck, MakeYourMarkBisman.com website. And on that website, the website is for newcomers and people that are interested in the community. When they go on there and click on some of the items that are in there, there's areas for 4 seasons of fun. There might be a thing for golf. Well, if there's golf clubs or golf organizations, not golf clubs, golf organizations, you can put that information in there. And people that are interested and new into the community, they can reach out to you directly to maybe join the organization. So look for that survey if you're an organization in the community and want to grow your presence. Just a little bit about the MakeYourMarkBizman.com website. This is as of 12/1. We've had 6,728 visitors to the website over 2024. We think that's a good thing. We've looked to try to grow our presence through some outreach and some marketing of the website itself. I think it's kind of a really good kept secret. That's not necessarily a good thing that it's a good kept secret. So we're looking to try to push out the information about the website and get more people to utilize it. And then the very last item there is our workforce data platform that we use. So we subscribe to this workforce platform about a year ago now, maybe a little more. It's called Jobs EQ, and literally it's all workforce data that you can think of, and we can pull up different kind of information about the community, about different industries, about different industry sectors, and pull some of that up. That map is really hard to see, but the map that's showing there, and it's one of the resources that can be utilized. Essentially, the blue shaded counties are counties where people are located, but work for a Bismarck Mandan company, work for a company that's headquartered in Bismarck Mandan. And so you can see some, it's pretty hard to see, but you can see some of the shaded blue areas. A little bit about some of our workforce development programming that we've had. We've had 3 internship network events. Our most recent one was in November. We've had over 175 plus interns attend those events. We had the first one at the municipal ballpark, the second one at Laughing Sun on the hottest day in July, throwing axes, and then this most recent one at Midway Lanes over in Mandan, and gotten a lot of participation from interns. This program is really about how do we engage interns into the community? How do we show them the good things about Bismarck Mandan? My team hates this because I say it a lot, but my biggest pet peeve is when we have interns that come from out of state or from other parts of the other parts of the state, and all they ever see is the place where they work and the place where they live. And they never really experience Bismarck Mandan. So this is our opportunity to really kind of let them experience Bismarck Mandan. Hopefully that brings them back here, and this is their permanent home then someday. We talked about back in, I guess, our Q3 update about the launch of our New American Leadership Program. We have 11 participants in that program from businesses all across the community, some of our biggest ones and small ones as well. And this is an opportunity, again, to just engage our new Americans into our community and show them the things that make our community special and great. We have people that have been here for 6 months up to 15 years. And so it's not just specifically like you have to be here for less than a year. It's new Americans in general. And so it's an opportunity to really kind of engage that group and show them what's special about Bismarck Mandan so that they put down roots there or here. We all have ties here. We all have roots. It would take a lot to get us to move. A lot of them don't. A lot of them could go anywhere. And so what makes them stay, we have to make sure that we make this a place that they want to stay. Our Student Leadership Network program that we offer to students in juniors and seniors, there's 16 participants. We actually had 44 applicants apply to this program this year, which was, if it's not an all-time high, it's pretty dang close. The 16 students that were selected to the program, they make up, they represent every single high school in Bismarck Mandan. So all 3 of the public schools in Bismarck, along with Mandan High and St. Mary's. There was also a Shiloh student that applied but did not get selected into the program. We also have had Seventh-day Adventist Academy students participate in that as well. I don't think there was any participants this year. One thing I don't think that we've talked about at this podium, we have a workforce development committee that's made up of 10 HR professionals from around the community that really help us with our workforce development efforts. They give us an opportunity to kind of test drive these workforce development efforts, see if they work. And they meet on a monthly basis. So you can see up there they've had 11 monthly meetings. There's 10 people on the committee. And they represent the largest employers as well as some small employers in town. And like I said, help us really kind of drive those efforts. They see every day the issues that we're facing with our workforce issues, and really kind of help us design those efforts so that they can be successful with the businesses in our community. A little bit about some of our workforce development programs. We have 11 participants. We actually had 44 applicants apply to this program this year, which was, if it's not an all-time high, it's pretty dang close. The 16 students that were selected to the program, they make up, Switching gears a little bit to the Vision Fund. So as you recall, we made some pretty big changes to the Vision Fund this year, and that did open it up and make it available for a few more projects. We had 7 applicants that we brought to the Vision Fund. I think 4 of them were funded or brought forth to the City Commission for funding. The projects that were approved through the Vision Fund, you can see it up there, about $500,000 and about $800,000 in applicants. So a good fair amount. That fund is now starting to get utilized, and that's a good thing. We're helping projects and businesses grow in our community. In addition to those Vision Fund projects, there's another source of local match funding through the North Dakota Opportunity Fund. That application process to the North Dakota Opportunity Fund requires a letter of support from you all from this table, and we had 16 letters of support that came from this table to projects that applied to the North Dakota Opportunity Fund. A little bit about our business attraction efforts. You can see up there some of the website and LinkedIn and paid advertisement that we've utilized, and you can see the impressions and the people that we've reached. We've had 502, almost 500,000 unique impressions through all of our different sources of business attraction. So you can see there, our LinkedIn posts and advertisements, paid ads through other sources, website traffic, our trade shows, direct email, and direct mailing. Something that I think is pretty impressive, that I think is a testament to the quality of the website. Average time spent on the website is 1 minute and 12 seconds, which, as compared to industry standard, is pretty good. I mean, that's a pretty good figure. We're pretty happy about that. We're pretty happy that people are coming to the website. They're spending time on the websites. You can see the top states. This is outside of North Dakota. Obviously, North Dakota would be number 1 if it was listed up there. But this is the top states outside of North Dakota that are visiting our economic development site: Virginia, Texas, Washington, Minnesota, and Iowa. So utilizing that data to then try to directly market to them. We've used our trade shows and different things like that to garner contact information to get direct contact to some of those businesses. We talked a little bit about the Vision Fund and some of the work that we did there. You can see that under the resources. Within that resources box, we developed that scoring matrix that we utilize now for flex-paced projects, a brand new application along with some guideline revisions, some well-needed, some much-needed guideline revisions to the Vision Fund. So we're excited about what 2025 has for that Vision Fund. Economics, this was a conference that I attended in Salt Lake City the week before Thanksgiving. This really is a site consultant conference. They had over 30 site consultants at this conference. I was able to meet with 15 of them through they call it office hours. It's an opportunity for you to sit down and one-on-one have some conversations with site consultants. It's an opportunity to see kind of what they're thinking, what industries are facing, and then an opportunity for you to pitch your community. And so able to bring some contacts back from that of some site consultants. Where it goes from there, I don't know. But it's really about developing those relationships, and hopefully somewhere down the line those develop into projects. And then, of course, our public policy efforts. We'll probably call 2024 the year of the tax, right? I think between property taxes and the sales tax that was passed at the Burleigh County level, there's just a lot of tax policy work that Brenda was working on, and that our board was working on, our government affairs committee was working on, and so just a lot of work through that. Housing, as you know, Brenda sat on the governor's task force, the governor's housing task force, and he released those initiatives in November. And then the event center work that Brenda's participating on, both at the consultant selection committee, and now with the RFP for possible development on that west side of the event center. So this is our team. We now have a full team. We had our business development coordinator start with us October 28th. He's a University of Mary grad, actually from the state of Minnesota, so you can bet your darn dollar that Brenda's pretty happy about that and totes that wherever she goes. We got another Minnesota kid that went to University of Mary and decided to stay here. But we have a really good team, really strong team, and I'm really excited about what 2025 holds for this team. I think, speaking for Brenda as well, we just want to express our gratitude for continuing to support the Chamber EDC. Mayor Schmitz is the selected board member, and your participation at our board. 7:30 meetings are not always easy, but we appreciate all your guys' support and help throughout the year, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you.
Kate, your turn. Downtowners.
That may have worked. I need tech support from Jason Tomanek. Okay. Well, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Well, Jason's helping me out. Here to present our Q4 update as well. Perfect. Looks a little different, but I'm going to go with it. We did our last report on October 22nd, and I kind of bolded some things that have happened since our last report so that you can kind of get an idea of what's been new in the fourth quarter, as well as a lot of stuff that we have got coming up that we're planning for 2025. We are now complete, and applications were closed October 31st. I was here on the 22nd, so about a week later, we closed the applications for the Neighborhood Reinvestment Initiative. Fantastic. First year, I think we had about almost $900,000 in applications that were forwarded on to the two banks that have provided the low interest loan capacity for us. So we, Lauren and Isaac and some folks in community development and planning, we are meeting in January to kind of discuss how the program went in 2024 and any adjustments that we would make for the 2025 program. The program actually doesn't usually start until like March because the banks that are providing the low interest loans adjust the interest rates each year and kind of see where the interest rates are at for that year. So we will be recommending that the maximum value increase move from $250,000 for the value of the property to $275,000 because we lost quite a few that were maybe in that donut. And then I think Capital Credit Union, if they come in again, which I think they will, they would like to take applications beyond October 31st, maybe a little bit later into the year. So nothing too huge. I think it was a pretty successful. It's just going to get more information out to homeowners as we keep going with the program. Again, something new since we were last here. It's a big process to get the Renaissance loan reinstated, and that was a goal in the RFP that we had answered. The 5-year reinstatement is completed now that the state has accepted the program and the letters of support and the updated development plan. So that is done and dusted, which is great. That renewal then, that 5-year timeline starts January 4th in 2025. And I'm going to go real quick because I know Carl's got some stuff too. Also working with your community development and planning folks, and they were gracious enough to start pulling some permit activity for me, but I just wanted to know some of the permit activity within certain areas, especially the downtown core, downtown fringe, and health medical districts. So we're going to dig into these a little bit and look at how these jibe with past years of permit activity, if any of the construction projects hurt that activity, or maybe it's higher than years previous. So we're going to start looking at some of that permit activity, and if it's adjacency to certain city projects. I go back a little bit, maybe 10 years ago when we did the 3-laning of Main Avenue. And when we looked at permits before and after that project, they substantially increased. So that's something that we'd like to look at now that we've done a few road projects and things in the downtown area, what the permit activity has been before and after. I waited, and thanks Whitney for putting this up late today because we had a meeting at 10:30 today, and I wanted to add some of that into this presentation. But I was here last time talking about how our vision fund, and Nate had mentioned it, we really want to preserve the dollars we have in there, maybe that don't have any other options for financing. The Flex Pace program, which has been very popular, a Bank of North Dakota Flex Pace, which is an interest rate buy-down program. The North Dakota Opportunity Fund, which Bismarck is a member of, can provide that community match. And today at our steering committee, and I'm the vice chair of the steering committee for the North Dakota Opportunity Fund, we went through our audit, which was great. And then we also decided that there is going to be more of a focus on making those local community match, flex pace, local community match pieces instead of maybe a interim SBA 504 loan or something that's really large that might pay back sooner, but it takes a huge amount of the funds available. So I think there is going to be even more of a focus on the North Dakota Opportunity Fund loan board to focus on those flex pace community matches, still with interest rates being somewhat high. Since we were here last time, we had another multicultural welcome event. This one we had 145 attendees, and we closed down the Heritage Center, which was fun, and we let the kids go wild in the exhibits, which was, we had to close them down early a little bit. I mean, the kids had a lot of fun, but we probably had too much fun. But it was a fantastic night. Again, our community partners, the city is a part of this. Your new community integration facilitator, Heather May, was there. Holly Triska's with the State Office of Refugee Resettlement. We see all of our other partners that are up there, Adult Learning Center. The Heritage Center was gracious enough to donate the space for us and our groups. So it was a fun time. A really large contingent of Eastern European folks, which you see in the picture below, and I think was just appointed to a board, Mirabella Punga, I think, right? She owns a Eastern European grocery store downtown, but there's some folks there from Moldova and Ukraine. A picture above, a big contingent from the Philippines. A lot of them are working at our local hospital. So we had a great time. We asked them to tell stories about winter and Christmas, where they're from, and then we gave them induced them with a prize to come up and talk in front of people, and it was just a fantastic night. So this year with our multicultural welcome events, we've had over 500 people there, and total I've had 16 different languages spoken at those events, which has been fun, and they're family-friendly kids events. We had temporary tattoos, which we made one of our committee members put on a bunch of kids, and then we usually have food from some of the cultures that are represented. This is a Filipino caterer that's come to some of our events. Fantastic food. Food brings everybody together. One of the RFP goals was looking at providing data-driven analysis, and we've done some of that with the Bismarck Airport doing origin analysis, or where people who are using the airport, where they're coming from and their zip code. These are the recommendations that we'd like to continue to do for the city, and I think will come up in 2025. I think the biggest one is going to be the event center amenity development. I have a couple slides afterwards on that. Off-street parking analysis. I'd like to dig a little bit deeper, and I think Greg and I chatted about the Bismarck Airport users and do some analysis there. And then we have been giving commercial real estate support with that placer license. So I think I sent this to you, Mayor Schmitz and Jason and Amanda Yellow, just to show a little bit of what we can pull about the event center with that RFP that's out there. But this is similar to what we did with the airport. We did this with the event center. Where are people who are visiting the event center originating from? And this is particularly what zip code that they are originating from. And I can do this either by percentage of visits, number of visits. We can do a bunch of different things there. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought Rapid City, Aberdeen was kind of a cool item to look at there. I think Billings is going to suck everybody up in Montana for the most part, but it was really cool to see, and very similar to our airport map, actually. there's a huge amount of data that we can pull, but I just wanted to pull a couple other things so you can see some of the very basic things that we can pull. We can look at the visits year to date, visits to square foot. I can compare the event center to the Alaris Center to the Fargo Dome. We can put them all side by side. So I think it's going to be really helpful as we work on those proposals with that RFP for development amenities. This is the time of day that people are visiting the event center as well, which was, I thought, kind of interesting. But I can see how big the household size is, what road they take to get there. A lot of cool things. So hopefully we can leverage that. Since we were here last, and I think Susan Dingle mentioned it, the Transportation Steering Committee, Dawn from our Downtowners Association will be on that. We represent either the city or ourselves in many of these boards. And then the one that's completed now in 2024 is the Downtown Concrete Pavement Repair Construction Project. One other thing that we're doing with community input engagement, specifically with the Bismarck Land Development Code and working with Daniel Nairn, is we're on that steering committee, and we've got a draft and some recommendations for Land Development Code, but we would like to, I would say, almost stress test them with the financial community here. And so we asked Daniel if we could put together a roundtable of commercial lenders and folks like that to see how some of the ideas that are in the draft for the Land Development Code, how a banker would look at that. Could we lend on that? You know, is that something that they would feel comfortable with? Because that's really a big part of the economic development piece of land development is, can you get financing for it? Can you make a cash flow? So we worked with Daniel to come up with a group of folks. And then when your consultants are back here, I think in February, they'll sit down with that group and meet, and hopefully there'll be some good engagement with the financial community as well as the consultants. We are also monitoring some bills that will go forward in the legislative session. Obviously, we'll always look at the economic development tools and any bills that have to do with that. We're also interested in the state joining the National Main Street program. We're currently the only state in the nation that does not a coordinating program with the National Main Street Center. So hopefully we can get North Dakota in there. Coming up, we have another multicultural welcome event, curling. We're taking everybody curling again, which was fun. We had about 100 people curl last time, family friendly. The curling club's gracious enough to teach us as well as make a bunch of crock pots of soup, because I guess that's a curling thing. When you hang out, it's a soup potluck. So that's going to be great. That'll be in January in addition to Winterfest. Again, we'll go through the neighborhood revitalization initiative, neighborhood reinvestment initiative solicitations, and kind of go over those program guidelines. Hopefully by the time the Bismarck Event Center RFP submissions are due, we'll have kind of an idea if there's folks that put in proposals and how we can assist there. And we should, in 2025, with the city, start the update of the urban renewal plan for the state of North Dakota, which is something that we need to have on file if we want to use certain economic development tools. And the last big thing, and Dr. Carl Solveig will talk about this, will be the Bismarck Call for Projects, which is what he's been working on for the last few months as part of our contract with the city of Bismarck. And I'm happy to stand for any questions, and I will, Vanna White, pass out anything for Carl that he may need.
Any questions? Carl?
Thank you, Kate, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I'm here to ask the city to consider our request. We would like to revive a call for projects. This was an initiative that was last launched in 2019, and I think Commissioner Zenker was on the commission at that time. The background of this, in 2019, the city of Bismarck initiated this call for projects, many which have come to fruition. They can be considered completed. These projects range from development calculator, riverfront development master plan, social and community health related projects and expanded businesses, social detox options, arts, cultural projects. The plan, they had 10 in all, and 9 of those are considered to be completed, and we have those attached for you there. We feel that it was an extremely successful initiative, and in speaking with Jason and the other committee members, we sought to revive this and see if 2025 version could be equally fruitful. The process, if approved, would allow the Downtowners Community Foundation under our direction, and particularly my direction, and the city of Bismarck and others that the city of Bismarck would like to include. We'd put out a call for projects with the parameters based upon the city of Bismarck. We have some of those listed for you, and we have rubrics that would be used in determining what those projects might need, and any future goals that the city would like to see from any of those projects. It would be our suggestion to fund up to $25,000, and we'd identify that either through the Vision Fund or through special projects funds that would allow these projects to receive some, rather than ongoing funding, just a one-time request for funding. The projects would aim to fall into the categories of economic development or community development, and there's certainly a number of plans, current plans, that could be brought into that. It could be a private-public partnership. It could come from nonprofits. But we're just asking for the city to make this consideration. We would get back with all the parameters and issue something in January for a call for projects. And then we'd also ask for approval for the city staff to work with us and the committee to help us launch those initiatives. And with that, I stand for any questions.
Commissioners, questions? Comments? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, if I may, Mayor, Commissioners, and you are right, I'm the only one sitting here from 2019. So when we did this, it came from our strategic plan. It was one of the things that came out, and we fast-tracked it instead of waiting. It was really good. We actually, the board at that time, sat down and listened to the finalists who made it. And I think this is great that this is coming back. I mean, I don't have a problem with the $25,000 on the Vision Fund criteria, because that's a revolving loan. They'll have to pay that back. It's not a grant of any kind. So with that, I'll move approval.
Second.
Do we have discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Cleary?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Zinker?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes, thank you, and
Thank
we
you
look
very much.
forward to what you bring to us in January sometime.
All right. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Next item D is to receive a presentation on the Safe Routes to Services Complete Streets Study, final report acceptance, and I believe Mike Bittner is online, and Kim is going to open it up.
I will. Thank you, Mayor Schmitz, Commissioners. First of all, I want to thank you for having us here here this evening. As already mentioned, my name is Kim Ripple. I'm a transportation planner with the Bismarck-Mandan Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, and I'm here to introduce the MPO's consultant, Mike Bittner, with Bolton and Menk, and also the Safe Routes to Services Complete Streets Study. This transportation planning study is intended to provide insight into the access, or perhaps lack of access, to essential services by marginalized or traditionally underrepresented populations in Bismarck and Mandan. The study examined challenges or opportunities that may exist as gaps in the current transportation network, and ultimately defined low-cost, short-term improvements that can be implemented to help close those gaps, and also long-term improvements to either infrastructure or policy that could further reduce or eliminate network gaps. Mike's presentation will provide you an outline of the unique and extensive public outreach that was used throughout the study, examples of infrastructure improvements and what implementation of those improvements might look like, transit and mobility options that could further be explored and evaluated, and policy-based recommendations that might be pursued. Tonight, the MPO is requesting the Bismarck Board of City Commissioners accept the Safe Routes to Services Complete Streets Study. And Mike or I would be happy to stand for any questions or comments at the conclusion of his presentation. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mike Bittner. Thanks.
Thanks, Kim. Can everybody see my screen and hear me okay?
We can hear you, but
I am sharing my screen. Is there anything that needs to be done on that end?
I think it might be coming up.
Okay. Well, while that comes up, I did want to give first of all, thank you for your time, Mayor, members of the Commission. I did want to give a quick thank you to city staff and the MPO for the leadership, guidance, and support they provided throughout this process, namely Gabe, Ben, Chris at the city, Kim at the MPO, and Renee at Bismarck Burley Public Health. I have the perspective of working across the region, and this is some of the most talented folks I've ever had the pleasure of working with. So you're all very lucky working at the city of Bismarck. So with that, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, Kim did a great job introducing the intent of the study. I want to transition a little bit into who we're looking to try to support through this plan. Throughout the Bismarck-Mandan metropolitan area, 9% of our households are below the poverty line, almost 4,000 households in total. 10% of the population is Native American, over 10,000 individuals, and 21% of households have one or more person with disability, over 9,000 households. Regionally speaking, over the past, from 2018 to 2022, we had 242 ped bike crashes, and that's relevant because those underrepresented populations often are utilizing walking, biking, and transit quite a bit more often than others. In fact, 55% of our ped bike crashes occurred in highest density neighborhoods of Native American and low income populations. 26% of our ped bike crashes resulted in a fatality. You're obviously just a lot less protected walking and biking. And as we compared the folks that walk to and from work to those that drive, you had about 6 times more likely that you result in a crash. As we look at the crash data on a holistic level, going all the way back yearly to 2019, we see that post-2019, overall, the crash volumes have gone down, but the ped bike crashes per capita have gone up, particularly in this past 2023 year. So as we embarked upon this study, it was really critical that we developed a very robust engagement process. We recognized that a lot of the key needs and issues were areas that hadn't been studied in the past, and so we wanted to hear firsthand from the folks that were most impacted or that had the most gaps, that had the most challenges with commuting, walking, transit. So we did really intentionally have a low-tech approach to try to really have conversations, recognizing that not everybody from these communities has great access to the internet. But we also did want to make sure that this process was inclusive of everybody. Lots of people like to walk, bike, and use transit. And so we did have some higher tech opportunities for those just around the region that didn't have the same amount of time to engage in some of these activities. Probably the most impactful feedback, or the highest volume of feedback, came through our community advisory group. And this included individual workshops and events for the Missouri Valley Coalition for Homeless People, Youth Works, Sacred Pipe Resource Center, and Ministry on the Margins. We included a budget of about $10,000 through the overall planning process to give back to these communities. So we actually paid them for their time to help organize events, and it really increased the quality of the events that we held. We had a lot of good feedback. And there just was a lot of appreciation, not only just for being heard the first time, but I think where we felt the most appreciation was coming back to some of these groups and having these individuals see how their voices were heard and help shape this plan overall. We also complemented with this with a technical barriers assessment. And so we looked at 3 key buckets: the activity, how many people are walking, moving, biking, using transit in a particular area. We looked at the amenities, where we're missing transit facilities, bike, ped facilities, and then what are the biggest barriers to try to cross? Do we have a ped bike crash in that area? Those are the blue dots on the screen. Do we have to cross a major highway facility that's very difficult or high speed? Is there a railroad crossing? And so we took the feedback and overlaid it with some of the technical analysis to identify 9 focus areas from an infrastructure standpoint, where we diagnosed the issues a lot more detailed. What was causing the crashes? What are the big needs? What are the feedback that we're getting? And develop a solution for each of these. And I'll give one example, recognizing that I don't want to take up too much of all of your time, but there's cut sheets for each of these different corridors, both in Bismarck and Mandan. We also have a variety of priority strategies, which I'll talk about thereafter. So I want to give one example. This is the airport road corridor. And the reason this is probably not the most grandiose of all the solutions that we've identified, but I like to highlight this one because I do think that this is a good example of a corridor that's not going to be highlighted on many major transportation studies. It doesn't have, only has about 7,000 cars per day, so a fraction of some of the other bigger highways and corridors that we see a lot up around the region. It doesn't have any major crash issues. What it does have, though, is it lacks pedestrian facilities, bike facilities, and really reliable transit. And that's important because what we heard through the process is that this is a pretty important corridor as it connects our Heaven's Helper soup kitchen and closet. We also have the Dream Center on the south end. It has connectivity to Tatley Eagles Park, which is located in the middle of the corridor, which hosts the Capitol Farmers Market. And so these are some key destinations, but also just kind of crossing this corridor. We have some lower income neighborhoods to the west and some lower income jobs to the east, and trying to cross this can be challenging at times. And so for each of these 6 focus areas throughout Bismarck, we developed a one-page cut sheet. The front page I just showed identifies all the issues, and then the second page identifies a package of solutions. And as Kim mentioned up front, our goal was to identify low-cost, high-impact solutions. We recognize that budgets aren't infinite, and we want to be able to make a tangible difference as soon as possible. And so, for example, on this, at an airport drive, we looked at Airport Road, we looked at adding pedestrian facilities, so sidewalks. We also looked at some pedestrian refuge islands to help cross the road with beacons, a little bit safer as necessary, to really make this a little bit more comprehensive for all the various uses. Looked at opportunities with only 7,000 cars to reallocate some of that space, particularly as we move into the future for alternative modes of travel. But most importantly, we tried to connect those to new transportation grant funding so that this wasn't subtracting from other needs, but actually is adding to the overall funding pot. So looking at transportation alternatives, which is a program designed specifically for sidewalks, ADA improvements, bike lanes, or highway safety improvement program funds, which would be perfect for median refuge islands and pedestrian crossings, as well as a variety of other funding pots as we went through the process as well. We also included some long-term improvements just to keep in mind as you start to program the next decade or two for these specific corridors. Another concept that we generated as part of this study, and I will note that our executive summary that's linked, that you'll have a link to in the final report, has all the other corridors as well. But next I want to talk a little bit about some of the other strategies we looked at. So this is our transit circulator route. This was a concept that was identified through the process as a great way to connect some of our most popular or critical services throughout the region. You can kind of see that a lot of our, with the highest density of key services in kind of the box that, surrounded by Bismarck Expressway up through Broadway Avenue or thereabouts. And so you can see this route connects a variety of those key amenities. And, the first thing I'll mention is, this is not the perfect route. This does, time out very well to allow us to have basically one bus twice per hour, which has just a really increased headway versus some of our other routes, which has just better connectivity for folks. And this would be proposed as additive to the overall system, so about 250K per weekdays. Or we propose that maybe you could have some changes to your Orange Route 5 as a way to create some new space and budget to be able to accomplish that, but certainly not something that you can do within your current budgets here today. We also looked at the concept of adding mobility hubs. A mobility hub is a centralized transportation hub that connects various different types of transportation. So imagine a heated bus stop area, or connected to a bike share parking area, connected to a bike repair station. But we also wanted to factor in a lot of the feedback we heard through the process, which were really transportation adjacent. So things like lockers. So if someone jumps on the bus and they're unhoused, where do they put their stuff as they're trying to commute to and from work? Or cash-based transit ticket kiosks for cash-based only families, or even water fountains, public restrooms. Those types of ideas were things that we heard time and again as we were going through this overall process. And so we worked to identify a number of potential locations. Again, certainly some refinement required as you move through this, probably most importantly with partnerships, to be able to provide amenities like a locker, for example. You need to both have the the maintenance and operations of the transit system, but also the maintenance and operations of the locker system. So through the report, we found a lot of good case studies and examples, and even example documents of how the maintenance and operation agreements can work and operate together, but really trying to spread these locations out, but also combine them with good partners that can help support the overall vision of this overall plan. And then the last item is really policy based. We didn't end our plan with rigid recommendations that you must take on these specific policies, but really what we took the approach of is, here's some approaches that you can take if you so desire to. So inclusive roadway design policies, procedures, and project selection, and how you could move that forward, so desire. I'd say where we talked the most about from a complete streets policy standpoint was 4 seasons complete street design. So are there design standards that better accommodate for ice and snow, or maybe that there is some snow clearing priority routes that we want to identify? Is that connecting certain roadway routes? Is that connecting to certain amenities? Let's say we have, for example, a high care facility. We need a nursing home. We need to get people during shift changes in and out of there. So are those priority routes? And then how do you make sure that they're effective? Is that opt-in assessments? Is that municipally led? And we gave some good examples of how that could be accomplished in other communities that have done a similar thing as well. So with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions on the overall plan and this quick overview of everything we have in it.
Anyone have questions? No? Okay, thank you. Yep.
Thank you very much.
I'll make a motion to accept the report.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Cleary?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Zanker?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Item E was removed from the agenda, so we are to item F. Public hearing on ordinance 6597 to amend the sales, use, and gross receipts tax. And this is as a result of the ballot initiative, so I don't know if we need any more introduction. I will open up the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak this topic, please come forward. A second call for public comment. A third and final call for public comment. Public comment period is now closed. Commissioners,
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Zanker?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Cleary?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Next item is to receive a request to publish a strategic planning services RFP. Doug.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. We are due to update our strategic plan. City of Bismarck has produced 2 strategic plans, one in 2012 and the most recent in 2019. The 2019, or the current strategic plan, was very community focused. We spent a lot of time receiving community input and having stakeholder meetings to try to figure out what it is that we want our community to be. And in doing so, a goal of that was to break down barriers, eliminate silos that we have in our organization so that we can work with partners. And a great example of that is what Carl presented, was the call for projects. Staff spent a lot of time, and it was a really great strategic plan. Kind of in the middle of that, we got interrupted by pandemic, kind of eliminated some of the momentum that we had in making this strategic plan move forward. So here we are now. It's time to visit this again, take a look at our mission, vision, and values. And the last time we hired a consultant to work through our our strategic plan, and that's what we're here tonight for. Hopefully you have a chance to review the RFP in your packet, and I can take questions on that, but just a little bit more background information. As we've done with other strategic planning processes, we have a diverse cross-section of our organization that will be part of the committee. We'll review the RFPs, determine who we're going to interview if we get a significant number of RFPs, and then make recommendations to the commission. As part of this committee, we'll be led by Commissioner Zinker, who's the strategic plan liaison. He is, like you said earlier, the only member that was here last time and also served in that role. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions. I do request that you approve the RFP that is included in your packet or attached, and then grant permission for us to advertise.
Commissioners, any questions? I think it's needed.
Yeah, Mayor, I would echo that too, because we've evolved, we've changed. We've had some directors change, we've had some other types of leadership change, city administrator for one. So and we sat down prior to this coming to the agenda, Kalen and Jason and Doug and I, and we had a really good conversation. I think it was only supposed to last an hour, and I think we were in there an hour 45. So it was good stuff. So with that, I'll move approval as presented.
Second.
I have one more important. It'll be quick. One more important thing is the most important thing I forgot to talk about, and I apologize. As I mentioned, the previous strategic plan was focused on the community. This one will be internally focused. So very organization-centric, not external. So you should know that. And that's all I have.
Is there any discussion?
That doesn't change my motion.
Thank you.
We'll call roll. I think I had a
Commissioner Zinker?
second, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Cleary?
Yes.
Commissioner Rish?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes, and I think Commissioner Zinker, thank you for leading this.
No problem, sir.
Next item is to receive a recommendation, or at least the legislative priorities that the city may have, or what we need to determine those are. And Jason will give us where he's at. So.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Just maybe a little bit of history and then a look forward. Past legislative sessions, typically the city would take positions, provide direction to the city administrator, who in often cases would be testifying on the city's behalf on a number of positions. Included in your agenda packet tonight were 15 legislative priorities. Some of these have carried over from years past. Some of these are new. I certainly don't need to go through each and every one of them unless you would prefer, but maybe just some of the higher priorities. First and foremost, obviously, we've talked a little bit about the South Bismarck Flood Control Project. You're well aware of some of the discussions and the meetings that we've been having with local state leaders in that particular area. Housing programs, this is obviously something that's gotten some attention lately with outgoing Governor Doug Burgum's housing initiative efforts, and just our own experiences through public health and community development. The need for attainable and affordable housing is a top priority throughout our community and within the organization. Historically, we have been very mindful to monitor any bills relating to the extraterritorial area. That's a tool that's been on the books since the 1970s. It's a very critical piece of what helps us determine healthy planning patterns and growth for the community going forward. Obviously, emergency communications, public safety, those are always big ticket items between the Fire Chiefs Association, the Police Chiefs Association, and similar supporting groups. They do a nice job of monitoring and supporting those bills as well. I should note also the North Dakota League of Cities is a partner organization in this. The league does a wonderful job every Friday of hosting a kind of a roll-up meeting of the week's events, and then also teeing up the hearings and the items that are to be noted for the weeks ahead. Those typically occur Friday afternoons. It's an online meeting. Taken part in those in the past and will continue to participate in those going forward. And then one of the things that you'll see at each of your commission meetings, beginning with the first meeting in January, which is the 14th, you will have a regular legislative update from me at the end of each commission meeting. I'll be reporting out activities on specific bills, seeking direction, just general update and awareness for everybody at the table, community involved, and of course all the directors and staff. And I guess one thing I would like to note, I've made it pretty clear to all the directors this year, if there is testimony, if there is bills that require their support or testimony either in favor or against, we will be there. We will be there to support or oppose, but it won't just be me as the administrator. I'll be dragging the subject matter experts along as well because they are the ones that are in the trenches. They know how these proposed changes or new laws could affect the way we operate as an organization. I think that's important for not just our local leaders to hear, but also those throughout the entire state. So there will be a good group of City of Bismarck representation throughout the Legislative Assembly, and we will continue to provide regular updates here until the latter part of April. With that, I would be happy to, if you have questions on any of the items, if you feel that there are topics that are not included on the list that we should be considering, that's part of the reason I'm standing here tonight.
Commissioners, go ahead, Commissioner Rich.
Mr. Mayor, Jason, under traffic safety, it refers to red light cameras. Are red light cameras prohibited by state law? I couldn't find anything in the code. And is the idea we try and get enabling legislation to allow the city to install red light cameras that can automatically capture somebody going through a red light and issue a speeding ticket or something to that effect?
Mayor and Commissioners, Commissioner Risch, in the past, it's been our operations that if it isn't expressly allowed by Century Code, it's just simply not permitted. Since Century Code doesn't state specifically that red light cameras are something that can be utilized, they're not a tool that any community can use. Frankly, this is something that has carried over from years past. I'm looking at Deputy Chief Stugelmeyer in the back there, and he kind of smiled. I don't think he wants to speak to this one. I don't want to suggest that the city would be initiating any of these particular topics or encouraging this particular change, but if there are subjects or discussions that come about this through the law enforcement side of things, I think we would be interested in to see where those conversations go.
Commissioner Conley.
The extraterritorial area, that's a conversation that's been major heartburn for a lot of people that are affected by that area. And it's always been a conversation. I know it was discussed at the Burley City meeting and things, but it just seems to be glossed over time and time again. I think it's time that we take that on with the county between the two of us and get a lot of really spur and dig deep and go through the uncomfortable process to talk about it. To keep continuing, I know it's been around since the 70s, but it's a rub and it's a point of contention to a lot of people. I think we need to take that on out of respect for citizens that are on the outside that go through the planning and zoning process based on how the city views it, as well as people that might be future citizens.
I guess I've got a question as to where we're headed with that.
No.
Because first off, the ETA is in Century Code to have it. And we got to be able to have some ability to manage development on our edges. That's why it's there. Now, we have negotiated effectively a difference in the ETA than what is in the Century Code.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually less than what's in the Century Code.
Correct.
Our area is. And so I have no problem having the conversation ongoing with the county. We've had it. We just did, in fact, talked about it with planning and zoning from both the county and the city. And both departments were pretty comfortable with where we were sitting. The departments were. I'm not going to say everybody else was.
But sure, you always have different input. But Mayor, if I could, and then we also implemented, I mean, our building code is the same too.
Yep.
Sometimes there's a little bit of difference in them, but now it's the same, Burley and the city of Bismarck. I mean, and we made that just a few years ago. In fact, the new code is going to be coming up probably in a year and a half or so.
Yep.
So, and we still need to maintain that, so we're the same, so we don't have those unforeseen circumstances.
Well, as an example, because I've brought it up when individual cases come up and things, is that for new development, there were some changes that occurred at the same time as the water rate changes as far as how we address abeyance. But for existing properties, the trunk line look back over time, that's a big hit for individual people that come in. So when you have a memorandum of understanding, was one of the conversations that came up, to where a property agrees that within a 20-year period of time, they'll come into the city. There's going to be, when that comes due or anything that come into the city, there's going to be a large look back or abeyance amount that addresses that a property. And that might create a rub down in the future. It's only going to be one property of several properties out there. Their voice is going to be small when that occurs. It's discussions, I think, merit some conversation.
And again, we can have those conversations between the county and the city. That's not really a legislative thing here, as I understand, that we're trying to give direction to Jason. I have no problem if we planning and zoning, and I'll look to Ben to make sure we can put that together to facilitate that. Those conversations again, they'll be due this spring. We'll be doing it again. We just did this summer, so. I would like to have us make sure we add as at least the watch is whatever comes out for state funding for transportation opportunities. I mean, even though we just created some funding in the city through our sales tax, we know that cannot be enhanced enough, so. Go ahead, Commissioner Cleary.
I was going to say the same thing about transit, but my only other question, Jason, I definitely agree that I think depending on the topic, it would be good for directors to go up and speak as well. But I just want to make sure, because I've gone up and spoken before, probably before I was actually in this role, but I just want to make sure that all of that's still going to funnel through you. Like, if one of us is going up there to speak, or if a director is going up to speak, that it's all like, that everybody's on the same page and that you're still running that ship.
Certainly understood. Yep.
Commissioner Risch.
I just wanted to add one thing, or a couple of things, actually. In the North Dakota League of Cities goals and policies, they have a provision that says support efforts to enhance the ability of child care providers to meet the need of city residents. And I'd like to, to take their language and put it in our suggestions as well. We don't have so much of a jobs problem. We've got a problem with, there's a lot of economic development stuff in here, but we've got a problem with people not being able to work job because of expensive child care.
We can add that to the things that we're certainly monitoring, and if there's something to take a position on, we can know when it's time to jump on that. Yeah, and go ahead.
Just one other thing I was just going to toss out. I mentioned at one of the meetings we've got 13 pages in the Century Code of exemptions from property tax. And the way to keep property tax as low as possible is to broaden the base. And I don't know that these 13 pages of exemption really get much discussion up at the legislature. And I don't, you're opening a can of worms for sure, but
well, there's like 55 bills on property tax.
Right. There'll be 55 bills. But certainly, if we could see some movement to help us broaden the base to keep pressure off raising property taxes in the future, I think that'd be a good thing to at least participate in.
And I know what League of Cities has asked, and I know that when we met with the local delegation from both cities 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we asked to be at the table when those property tax discussions occur. We'll hopefully be there, so we can at least give some input, and that may be one of those areas. We'll have to see where they go. There's a lot of stuff that's going to happen on property taxes, and Governor Armstrong's got his plan too. He hasn't really rolled it out, but I know he's got a plan that's different than all the legislators. So, as always. Is there anything else that we can give guidance to Jason on? Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioners.
We're to other business. Commissioner Zinker.
Mayor, Commissioners, I have one item that came up, hot topic, that Michelle got from the USGS agreement that we need to approve before the end of the year. So I teed it up for you, Michelle, so it's all you.
I appreciate it, Commissioner Zinker. We have a normal, it's a routine agreement we do with USGS to do a stream flow monitoring of Hay Creek. And basically, if we contribute about 13,000, they also cost share an additional 5,000. This Hay Creek monitoring helps us with any type of potential flooding issues within the city. It gives us stream gauge information. So it's separate from all the Missouri River gauges that they monitor. This is one specifically that really helps Bismarck out. Just seeking an approval for this so that we can sign off on the agreement with USGS.
Commissioners, any questions?
Just one. Michelle, how long have we done this with them?
It's been over 10 years.
Perfect. I'll move approval as presented.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Cleary?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Zinker?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Is there any other business? Merry Christmas, everyone.